You can go live at any time.
Okay, we're ready when you are. Just let me know.
I'm showing everybody online, so go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all the ships at sea. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Paso Robles City Council for Tuesday, April the 7th. We invite you all to begin the meeting with us by joining in the Pledge of Allegiance, which I will be happy to lead. So take a deep breath. Ready? Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Tonight for our invocation, I understand we have with us Pastor Dan Catchus. Pastor Catchus, are you there? Apparently not.
I'm checking the log. Hold on, please.
Yes.
No, sorry. We don't have a person.
Very well. If you would join me in an attitude of meditation, I'll be happy to lead the group. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to join together, if only electronically. We ask that you would watch over us as our community fights back against this virus, that you would give us the strength to do that and to also enact the business that is falling to us as representatives of the people. We ask for your strength, guidance, and compassion. Amen.
Amen.
May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Garcia?
Here.
Councilmember Gregory?
Here.
Councilmember Hammond?
Here.
Councilmember Strong?
Here.
Mayor Martin?
And I'm here. Thank you all. Before we go any further, I want the public listening in to know that they will have the opportunity to make public comment tonight, both general public comment and specific comments on individual items. It will be by telephone. You need to phone 888-867-1694. When you call in, you'll be placed on hold. You will be able to hear the meeting as it's going on while you're on hold, and then you'll be put live through to make your public comment. If you want to comment on more than one item, we ask you to please comment on item and then go ahead and hang up and wait for the next item to be called before you phone back in. That number again is 888-867-1694. We know that all the council is present. I would ask all the staff online to introduce themselves so that everyone knows who's partaking of the meeting.
Warren Frace, Community Development Director.
Melissa Martin, Deputy City Clerk.
Jonathan Stornetta, Fire Chief.
Dave McHugh, IT Manager.
Caleb Davis, Police Commander.
Brian Cornell, Administrative Services.
Sarah Johnson Rios, Assistant City Manager. Kimberly Hood, Interim City Attorney.
I'm Frucci, City Manager.
Very good. Thank you all for being here. Prior to this open session of the Paso Robles City Council, we had an announced closed session meeting. I'll ask the City Attorney now if there is any action to report from that meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. The Council convened in closed session for a conference with the City's labor negotiators as identified on the agenda and provided direction to those negotiators, but there was no reportable action.
Thank you very much. We move on now to presentations. Our first presentation tonight, and this is not for any action, it's just to update the City Council and the community, will be our COVID-19 update. We have various people involved. I'm assuming Mr. Stornetta, our Emergency Services Chief, will do the briefing.
Good evening, Mayor Martin, members of the council, Jonathan Stornetta, Fire Chief. Start off tonight with our current situation. The slide here identifies the rapid increase in cases throughout the U.S., California, and San Luis Obispo County just over the past 3 weeks. Currently, California has over 15,000 positive cases, with over 2,600 of those hospitalized, and over 1,100 of them are in the ICU. We can expect these numbers to continue to rise in the coming weeks. This chart identifies the numbers here in San Luis Obispo County. Currently, there are 99 positive cases in the county, and that went up by 4 today. 65 of those have recovered. 4 are hospitalized, 3 are in the ICU, and 1 patient succumbed to COVID-19 over the weekend. When we look at our cases, we're seeing the majority of the cases between the ages of 18 and 49. Again, I would like to remind our members of the community that no matter your age, you are still prone to contracting the virus and you should be sheltering at home. Please only go out in the public for essential needs. The North County continues to have the largest amount of positive cases. In this graph, you can see it identifies Paso Robles as having 27, but that
sheltering at home. Please only go out in the public.
But that does include all of the unincorporated areas of the North County. That's just not strictly Paso Robles' numbers. The Cal Poly alternate care site should be up and running by tomorrow. The reason for the care site is that it'll be utilized once the hospitals reach a surge capacity and need extra room for the patients. So initial capabilities will be 175 beds with expansion to 900 if needed. Here we're looking at flattening the curve, and we continue to hear this, and the biggest reason we want to flatten this curve is so we don't impact our hospitals so much that ventilators aren't needed for those critical patients. The state surge was originally predicted to occur around April 24th, but Governor Newsom extended the date of the surge prediction yesterday. The new predicted surge is in mid-May.
It was originally predicted to occur around April 24th, but Governor Newsom extended the date of the surge prediction yesterday.
The early shelter at home directive has had an impact on flattening the infection rate curve. I believe the reported
Okay, so do you see me there in the...
Sorry, we're getting some feedback there. I believe the reported COVID-19 case numbers in San Luis County are low and will grow as testing is more aggressively performed. But if each of us can encourage people to stay home, continue social distancing, and to wear a mask in public, we will continue to flatten this curve. Currently, we are seeing different results throughout the state. For instance, Santa Clara County is starting to see their numbers slowly decrease. But the south of us in San Bernardino, they had over 100 new positive cases over the weekend. This information serves as a reminder for everyone to adhere to social distancing and the stay-at-home orders. We need to remain committed to protecting ourselves and other members of the community. I can't stress enough how important it is for us to work together to get through this. We can't back off now. A press release was issued yesterday by Dr. Borenstein, and she urges residents to get tested even if they have mild symptoms. As a reminder, some of those symptoms include fever, cough, sore throat, and may include a runny nose or diarrhea. I've listed here the 2 closest medical facilities to the residents of the North County. Both facilities offer COVID-19 testing. One is in Templeton and the other in Atascadero. Currently, there are no testing sites available at Paso Robles. For a list of all the testing facilities, you can go to readyslow.org. Many of the procedures on how to reduce your exposure have not changed. I do want to point out number 10 and number 11 that will further reduce your chances of exposure. The first is to adhere to the shelter at home orders, and the second is to wear a mask in public. We're not recommending the public use any type of surgical mask or an N95 mask because we are in short supply for your public health professionals. A scarf would be fine, handkerchief, any type of fiber mask at this time. So current and future issues. To reduce further spread of COVID-19, the city continues to monitor that only essential businesses are operating and evictions for non-payment are not occurring. We are continuously evaluating the needs of our community members and businesses. We are also taking steps to increase our opportunities of receiving reimbursement for the costs associated with our response and recovery of this pandemic. Lastly, staying informed, you can go to the CDC Ready Slow or here in Paso Robles on prcity.com. I just want to remind the community this weekend is Easter, and I'm sure many of you want to get out and spend the holiday with your families and friends. I'm asking you to please refrain from doing so. We need your help to get through this as quickly and as safely as possible. The most impactful thing we can do right now is to stay home. We cannot restart life as we knew it without doing our part to stop the spread of this virus. And with that, I'll turn the presentation over to our Assistant City Manager, Sarah Johnson-Rios.
Thank you, Chief Stornetta. Good evening, Mayor and Council. One of the city's primary efforts throughout this pandemic is to keep our community informed. And part of that is by providing these updates through Chief Stornetta at council meetings. I'd like to take a few minutes to tell you about some of the other ways and to tell the listening public some of the other ways that they can stay informed on a regular basis. I'm working with a public information team that's in the city's Emergency Operations Center, and they're working really hard to put out a lot of frequent and accurate updates, and I would like to thank them for their efforts. So what you see on this slide is an example of one of the charts that's on our local COVID-19 data dashboard that our GIS staff created. That data is updated daily, and it's available on prcity.com. And then you can also see an example of today's email update that went out. We're sending out regular email updates on COVID-19, and you can sign up for those and other city email lists at prcity.com. The next slide, please. So the next slide shows some other examples of our public information efforts. On the city's website, you'll find links to the mayor's informational update videos, which have been quite popular. And you'll find links to community and business resources as well as county resources. You can also find the city on social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor, and Instagram. And for anyone who's following pop culture trends during the pandemic, you might be interested in the Paso Robles Police Department's Facebook page, which today had a highly popular post regarding Tiger King and proper social distancing. Recognizing that not everyone will find us online, we're also going to be sending out a bilingual postcard mailer to all Paso households later this week. And as the chief said, we're continuing to remind people to follow social distancing guidelines, practice good hygiene, call and check in on neighbors, friends, and family. Another priority is to continue to connect the community with each other and with existing resources. So again, please refer to the county's public health website, readyslow.org, for public health guidelines. And you'll also find a virtual assistance center that they have there that can also be reached by phone at 805-543-2444. One of the things that the county is organizing is food and prescription delivery for seniors or those with pre-existing conditions. And I wanted to highlight this in case there's anyone listening who's not yet aware of that. Today they made deliveries to 393 households in the county. And you can sign up for that and other services on their website or by calling that number to reach the virtual assistance center. We've also been fortunate to have great local stakeholders like the Chamber of Commerce, Travel Paso, the Wine Country Alliance, Downtown Main Street, and the Hispanic Business Association. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank them and all of the other community partners that have been coordinating to share updated information and resources with the community. If you've not yet gone to pasostrong.org, please check that out. That features information about how to support local businesses during this time. The Chamber has initiated that effort, but they're putting information on there about all Paso businesses, not just Chamber members. So please send them any info if you have anything to add. And then lastly, we would like to ask to hear back from the community. In addition to working hard to get information out, we'd really like to hear back from our community directly about how people are doing during this time. So to that end, we launched a resident survey today on prcity.com, and we're encouraging residents to take a moment and fill that out. It's available in English and Spanish. And I think we had dozens of responses already after sending out the email update today. So we're really eager to hear from people about how the city can best keep you informed and continue to serve you during the pandemic. Within the next day or two, we'll also be sending out a business survey to all licensed businesses within the city. We really encourage our businesses to also let us know how you're doing during this time. Next slide, please. And finally, we wanted to take a moment to make sure everyone is aware that the city is continuing to provide services during this time. So essential services like police, fire, water, wastewater, critical maintenance, and other services that are provided in the field are still being done while following social distancing guidelines. And I'd like to highlight, you heard Chief Stornetta talk about the new guidance regarding face coverings. You may begin to see city staff using cloth face coverings, particularly in situations where social distancing is not possible. And we encourage the public to do the same based on the federal, state, and county guidance. Some of the city services that are typically done in offices or in public facilities that are closed are still happening. Staff is just finding creative ways to continue to provide those services remotely. We wanted to call people's attention to Virtual Paso. This information is also available on the city's website. It provides ways to keep you active, engaged, and entertained from home. So that's an effort from our library and recreation staff. Some great resources there. And if you need permitting, plan review, or inspection services, those can all be obtained remotely. These are just some of the examples of how city staff is finding ways to, again, continue to provide services during this time. And there's additional examples and information on our website. That concludes my presentation, and Chief Stornetta and I are available for any questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is an information item. No action is required. Council comments. Councilwoman Garcia.
Yes, for Sarah. I just wanted to know if we could get some of the results from the survey from the community after you've read them. And
absolutely. If we have a good response rate, perhaps we could provide an overview at the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Councilman Strong.
Yes, Sarah, on that slide that showed the number of cases in each area within the county, it finally does show that Paso Robles is not the city limits, it is the zip code. And could you remind people who are participating in this meeting what area that zip code covers?
Yes, so that area includes a broader area than the city limits. There are actually more than one. There's more than one map for zip code, apparently. So we've put the map that is based on the county's data on our city website. So the best way for folks to see exactly the outline that encompasses the Paso area cases would be to go to prcity.com and go to that local dashboard. You can see not only the Paso boundary, but all of the boundaries in the county that correspond to the county's data.
Thank you. And that does include an area that's more than double our population within the city.
Very good. Councilman Hammond.
Yeah, Jonathan, question. What are our protocols right now running our engines and squad? Are we basically a three-man engine company and it's in the engine and then a two-man squad? And then if we know we're going to a known COVID exposure situation, how are we handling the return? In other words, after the crew has cleared the scene.
So, Mr. Hammond, we do have the same staffing level at this point with trigger points to increase our staffing level as our call volume continues to increase. When we respond to a COVID-19 suspected patient or a confirmed patient, we do have all of our personnel in full personal protective equipment. That's including eyeglasses, a face shield, N95 mask, gowns, and booties and gloves. Once they are done treating the patient, we have decon procedures that they have to go through to take off all of their personal protective equipment and decon the fire engine or squad once they're complete.
So they decon before they get back on the equipment or, I mean, at the scene, or how is that being handled? I would imagine this is going to take a lot of time for each kind of a call like that.
They do decon prior to getting back into the fire engine or the squad, because if not, that whatever's in the fire engine or squad is transmissible to the next crew that comes in. So we want to eliminate any type of contamination. A good example of this is Long Beach Fire Department shut down a fire station because someone brought it back with them, and 14 firefighters are currently in isolation. So we want to try avoiding that.
I see. None of our staff has had anything so far yet, correct?
We've had no positive cases too far. We have had 2 staff members that have been placed in quarantine, and they're back at work.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gregory?
Yeah, a couple questions for you, Jonathan. On as far as your supplies for safety on our staff, are we okay? As far as masks and gowns?
We got a large shipment in yesterday, so we are doing good for right now, as long as the call volume doesn't increase, and we're hoping it doesn't hit the surge that we're expecting. We're all kind of fighting for the personal protective equipment, especially with alternate care site opening up at Cal Poly. There's over 200 people going to be staffed in that facility. And once all of us start using the same personal protective equipment, we're going to get low on supplies very quickly.
And then I have another question on the 2 sites that were on the graph for places for people to get tested in the North County. Are those provided by the health department, or are those private entities?
Those are private labs that get the results for that. So right now you're looking at a 5 to 7 day turnaround time.
Is there any sign or effort on the health department to provide health department testing in Paso Robles?
That actually came up today on our conference call, that they're looking into options moving forward to possibly have a drive-through testing site. But that's in the very early stages at this point. The biggest thing is finding staff that can do that, because all of us have our emergency operation centers activated right now, call volume's increasing, and obviously the volume at the hospital is increasing. So finding staff to operate those centers is extremely difficult at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no one in the phone queue on this item. Do we have any written communication?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Then we'll move on. A reminder to everyone who is on the line right now: if you're not speaking, good idea to mute your phone. There may be noises in the room that you think aren't being picked up, but they actually are, and it makes it very confusing. So if you're not speaking or about to speak, make sure your phone is on mute. For the public's benefit, once again, for the items coming up, if you'd like to comment, the number to call is 888-867-1694. We move on now to item number 2 under presentations, which is Sexual Assault Awareness Month Proclamation. I understand we have Janae Sargent from RISE online to accept this. Janae, are you with us?
Bring her on now. Hold
Hello.
on, please. There you go.
Hi.
Janae, hi, this is Steve Martin. You are with the RISE organization, and we're pleased to have you with us on our conference call tonight, our city council meeting. I would like to read this proclamation, after which time I would invite you to make a few remarks.
Sounds good. Happy to be here.
So this is a proclamation for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and has the potential to impact every person in Paso Robles. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment harm our community, and statistics show that 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men will be raped at some point in their lives. And whereas child sexual abuse prevention must be a priority to confront the reality that 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls will experience a sexual assault before age 18, and youth ages 12 to 17 are 2.5 times as likely to be victims of sexual violence. And whereas our local student population is also at high risk, nationally 1 in 4 women and 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted during their time in college. Whereas last year, RISE received 1,436 crisis calls from members of our community and provided 6,065 days of emergency shelter. Whereas the number of RISE clients seeking counseling for sexual assault-related issues continues to increase every year, was a total of 2,673 hours of counseling provided at low or no cost to community members across the county last year. Whereas the theme of this year's Sexual Assault Awareness Month campaign is I Ask, which champions the message that asking for consent is a healthy, normal, and necessary part of everyday interactions. And whereas the city of Paso Robles joins RISE and other advocates and communities across the country in taking action to prevent sexual violence and acknowledges that each day of the year is an opportunity to create change for the future. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Stephen W. Martin, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor and speaking on behalf of the entire city council, to hereby proclaim April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Ms. Sargent, would you like to make a few comments?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Martin and the City Council for this proclamation. As you mentioned, my name is Janae Sargent, and I am the RISE Education Manager. RISE is a nonprofit that serves survivors of sexual and intimate partner violence as well as their loved ones. While we provide intimate partner violence services in the North County, we are the only agency dedicated to serving survivors of sexual assault or abuse and their families in the entire county of San Luis Obispo. Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men who will experience some form of sexual violence or harassment during their lifetime. For those in the LGBTQ community, numbers can be even higher. RISE is committed to continuing to provide essential crisis intervention services to survivors in the midst of COVID-19. As you may have read, domestic violence has been on the rise on the Central Coast and across the world, as many are forced to shelter in place with abusive partners. RISE staff continue to work during this uncertain time to navigate the new challenges of providing remote crisis support in the era of social distancing. Our emergency shelters remain open to survivors fleeing violence. Our therapists and advocates continue to be available 24/7, and our educators continue to provide prevention services across the county. However, our work has been severely impacted by this pandemic. Our current wait list for therapy stretches 6 months, and we have had to cancel 2 of our biggest spring fundraising events in respect of social distancing. Now more than ever, survivors need the support of their local community. RISE invites you to take part in our virtual Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. Throughout the month of April, we will be posting about ways that you can rise up for your community from the safety of your home. Among those are 2 survivor benefit concerts. One is this Saturday, and the next is April 22nd, when we will be live streaming from our Facebook. Attendance is free and donations go to our Survivor Relief Fund. You can find information about how to participate on our Facebook and Instagram pages, as well as our website. Finally, if you or anyone you know is experiencing sexual or intimate partner violence and needs help, please call us at 855-886-7473 to speak to one of our confidential advocates. We are so grateful for the support of our community now more than ever.
Thank you very much for being online with us tonight to accept that, and please accept the thanks of the council and the community for all the work you do, especially during these difficult times.
Thank you. Same goes to you.
Moving on now to item number 3, we have another proclamation. My understanding is there is no one here online to accept this one, so we will make sure that it is transmitted to the appropriate personnel. This is a proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, April 12th through the 18th. Whereas the professional public safety dispatcher plays a vital role in the protection of human life and property and the preservation of law and order guaranteed by our Constitution, and whereas the incidents of crime, alcohol and drug abuse, suicides, medical and fire emergencies, broken homes, and child and elderly abuse are a daily occurrence, and whereas the safety of our police officers, firefighters, and the public is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Paso Robles Police Department Communications Center. Whereas the professional public safety dispatcher is the vital link between the citizen or victim and the public safety provider who may apprehend a criminal, save their worldly possessions from fire or theft, or save their life or the life of a loved one. Whereas the city of Paso Robles is fortunate to have a wonderful group of dedicated and trained professional public safety dispatchers. Whereas these professionals need and deserve the informed support of our community to continually maintain and improve the quality of public safety dispatching services. And whereas the United States Congress has set aside the second full week in April to recognize telecommunicators and their crucial role in the protection of life and property. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, as mayor of the city of Paso Robles, do hereby proclaim the week of April 12th through the 18th as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the city of Paso Robles, and wish to commend the dedication and contribution of our professional public safety dispatchers to the overall delivery of public safety services. And we appreciate all the work they do for the citizens of our community.
Excuse me, Your Honor. We do have Commander Davis from the Police Department online.
Excellent. Love to hear from him.
Mayor Martin, this is Caleb Davis. Thank you very much for the proclamation tonight. Our dispatchers will appreciate it. Obviously, given these times, they're working double shifts right now and all pulling a lot of overtime to make sure we're adequately staffed for everything that's going on. So this is definitely a weird week, but they will definitely appreciate this. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you. For the public's information, once again, if you would like to make public comment tonight, that is done by telephone. The number to call is 888-867-1694. We come now to general public comments. This is a time we set aside for anyone on the council or in the community to ask a question or make a comment about something that is not on the agenda tonight. If you are listening and want to comment on a specific agenda item, a separate time will be set aside for that. So this is the time for general public comments. I will ask if there is anyone online. I see from my notes there are no callers online for general public comment. Were there any public comments transmitted to the city clerk's office prior to noon today?
No, Mr. Mayor, there were not.
Very good. In that case, I will close general public comment and we will move on. I will ask the city manager if there are any items tonight to be deferred.
No, sir.
Very good. We come now to the consent calendar, which is the bulk of our agenda for this evening. Generally, the consent calendar is a list of items that are voted upon all at one time. That being said, anyone on the council or in the community can ask a brief question, make a brief comment before that vote, or if a full discussion is required, anyone on the council or anyone in the community may ask that an item be withdrawn for separate discussion. At this time, I'll ask the council if anyone has any questions or comments or any items they would like to have withdrawn. Mr. Gregory?
Steve, I don't know if it's appropriate. I wouldn't mind having some conversations on a couple of the items just so the public knows what we're talking about.
Sure. Are there specific ones that you want to talk to?
Item 9 and then item
9?
10. And item
Very good.
10.
And I agree. I have no problem with withdrawing those for separate discussion. Anyone else on the council? Mr. Hammond?
No, I'm good, Steve. Thank you.
Mr. Strong?
I'm fine.
And Councilwoman Garcia?
No, sir.
Thank you. At this time, I'm looking at my screen. I see we have no callers on the line, and I can only assume we had no written communication asking something to be withdrawn. Is that the case?
There was no written communication, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. In that case, I would entertain a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar for tonight.
This is Steve Gregory. I so move.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Gregory, second by Councilman Hammond, if I hear the voices correctly. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond?
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Mayor Martin?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Before we move on to the items that have been withdrawn, Mr. City Manager, if you would give a short report for the people who are listening as to the actions that were taken as part of the consent calendar.
Yes, sir. I'd be happy to. So tonight on the consent calendar, the council approved its minutes from March 17th, and that was a regular meeting, as well as the meeting of March 27th, which was a special meeting. And those minutes are the official record of the meetings. In addition, the council approved the warrant registers for the month of March, and they totaled $2.95 million, $800,000 of which was primarily reimbursements to the other participants in our GSA grant. And so those disbursements were matched by revenues from the state. So that's not a net expenditure to the city. In addition, was $660,000 for the 21st Street Reservoir continued construction, as well as $265,000 for the Union Road undergrounding at Barney Schwartz Park. So just $1.2 million of that total 2.95 was for normal expenses for the entire month. And that's very good for the city. In addition, the council approved memorandums of understanding with our Police Officers Association and our Firefighters Association. Those are 3-year agreements that have already been approved by the memberships of both those union employees, and they do include reopeners if necessary. There are no additional appropriations needed as the costs of those agreements for this year were included in the adopted budget. The council also approved the recording of 3 right-of-way dedication offers along Creston Road, and those are for curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and in one case, part of the street necessary. And those are at no cost to the city, so the city will fully accept the offers of dedication when needed in the future as we rebuild Creston Road. And the 3 locations were Creston Road at Trigo Lane, Creston Road at Orchard, and Creston Road at Rolling Hills. Mr. Mayor, those are the items the council approved tonight on consent.
Thank you very much. We're going to go now to the 2 items that were withdrawn for separate discussion. And I want to remind the public once again, if you intend to comment, the number to call is 888-867-1694. Item number 9 is a second reading, First Step Homeless Navigation Center General Plan Amendment, etc., for our homeless shelter project. Who will be presenting this?
Warren Frace, Community Development Director. So as you'll recall at your previous meeting, the City Council approved a general plan amendment, also introduced for first reading the zone change, and approved a use permit that would allow a emergency shelter for homeless persons near the wastewater treatment plant. So the general plan and CUP are approved at this point. The second reading of the zone change will bring the zoning ordinance into conformance with the changes that have been made to the general plan. Regardless of whether the homeless shelter actually gets built in this location or not, these zone changes still make sense. We had some outdated zoning at the wastewater treatment plant that are corrected. And in addition, we've then updated the zoning code to have a process to allow emergency shelters on public facility sites, which there are numerous ones throughout the community. So regardless of whether the homeless shelter goes in the site, these changes to the zoning code make sense long term. That'll conclude staff's report.
Thank you. Councilman Gregory, questions?
No, I just wanted to hear the reading and what it was. So thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, Councilman Hammond?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Strong?
No, sir.
Councilwoman Garcia?
No, sir.
Very good. We have no council questions of staff. Looking here, I see that we have no callers online at this time. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
Do we have any written comments? Do we have any written comments?
No written comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll bring this back to the council. Public comment is closed on this issue. Councilman Gregory, you withdrew this. Would you like to discuss or make a motion?
I'd like to move that we approve item 9.
Strong seconds.
I have a motion by Councilman Gregory, second by Councilman Strong. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Gregory,
Aye.
Councilmember Strong,
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Mayor Martin,
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Item number 10 is the approval of local roadway safety program grant.
Yes, this is David Athy, city engineer. Item 10 is for authorization of the city manager to sign contracts with Caltrans. The city received a tentative grant of $72,000 from the state and another grant from SLOCOG, the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments, to perform a local roadway safety program analysis, basically looking at the major roadways in the city and to look at collision rates, traffic volumes, to determine if there are any trouble spots in the city that may need to be addressed through a capital project in the future. This grant is no cost to the city. It is 100% funded by the grant itself, and we've never done something like this in the city in the past. So this will be useful for future capital project programming when the city is back on its feet and running at full steam in the future. And that concludes my presentation for this item.
Thank you very much. Council questions. Mr. Hammond.
None, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Garcia.
No, sir.
Councilman Strong.
Comment, but not a question.
Okay. And Mr. Gregory.
Yes, Mr. Athy, just a quick question. So does this focus in on the major thoroughfares or all roads in the city?
Yes, Councilman, this will focus in on collectors and arterials. So our medium-sized roads and our large roads like Creston and Niblick Road. Charlotte.
Okay. And so this study actually looks at all levels of safety on those roads and what we need to improve on?
That's correct. We'll be working with our consultants and the police department to look at collision rates within the city, especially at intersections and different road segments, to determine if there are a cluster of accidents that may indicate that there is some problem at that location. Once we have identified those locations, we'll look at actual causes of the accidents and to determine if there is something is related to road geometry or some physical constraint of the road itself.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Athy.
Welcome.
Any other questions of staff? Hearing none, we will open this to the public. I see by my notes we have no one online waiting for this. Do we have any written comments on this item?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Bring it back to council for consideration. Gentlemen, lady?
Fred Strong here. I wanted to make a comment.
Yes, sir.
Yes, and that is that, as you know, I'm president of SLOCOG, and we are facing having to move to a VMT analysis prior to getting certain grants. That's currently scheduled to happen fairly quickly, but there is a possibility that the state may delay the implementation of the VMT for the environmental impact reports. Getting this in now allows us, regardless of what happens on the VMT thing, to get some of these grants possibly approved before that goes into effect, which will expedite our getting that grant money. So it's a very important thing to do.
Thank you. Other comments, or Councilman Gregory?
I'd like to move we approve item 10.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Gregory, second by Councilman Strong. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Gregory,
Aye.
Councilmember Strong,
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Mayor Martin?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 11, council business and committee reports. I know our lives have been changed as everyone else's has, but I'm sure we've all been busy. Anything to report, Councilwoman Garcia?
Yes, sir. I did attend the CAPSLO teleconference. We still met through conference. And then I also attended through conference the supervisor oversight meeting as well. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Strong.
Yes, sir. On Tuesday, March 24th, I participated in a webinar with Caltrans on the conversion to VMT for highway and road projects. There are a number of things we had to do, including responding to the technical advisory on evaluating transportation impacts in CEQA by March 30th, which I related to our staff for response. As a community in a relatively rural area, we may have some criteria that will be significantly different than urbanized areas do. I had multiple conference calls and webinars on dealing with COVID-19 and meetings affected by it, including attendance at a regional government meeting in Houston, Texas, to learn many do's and don'ts of attending and running virtual meetings, which I related to our staff and the staff at SLOCOG and SLORDA. I also attended the Executive and Finance Committee as well as board meetings of CalCog, where I learned of many changes in how we will deal with infrastructure funding, diminished finances, and offsets, as well as the fact that our top employee and Assistant Executive Director, Tanisha Taylor, has been hired as of May 1st as the Chief Deputy Director of the California Transportation Commission, the same position Mitch Weiss had before being promoted to the position of Director. I've been working with Tanisha for a few years now, and she is extremely competent with her experience regarding the SAFE rule and other Caltrans issues by contract. We discussed and took specific positions on a number of pending pieces of state legislation that are either helpful or harmful to our efforts to serve our local citizens. I chaired the board meetings of both SLOCOG and SLORDA and dealt with adjustments in our project expectations, proposed budget issues, as well as some staffing changes and issues. Finally, I attended and participated in the meetings of both the Revenue and Taxation and Housing, Community and Economic Development Policy Committees of the League of California Cities, which dealt with many of the same issues as the CalCog meeting, as well as over 24 pieces of proposed state legislation and ways to improve the state's response to the COVID-19 threats to health, government budgets, and the economy. The contacts made during these meetings have generated additional conference calls and potential assistance and solutions to many local and regional problems and issues. Union Pacific Railroad's Vice President of Government Relations and one of its national lobbyists have both reached out to me since those meetings with requests for more cooperation and offers of assistance on their behalf to help solve a number of our mutual problems. Finally, I'd like to bring up a number of emails I think many of us have received having to do with rents, and that's local and residential rental problems, and there are ways in which we might be of assistance. This might be to either lobby and or write a letter to the governor and or the state legislature. And as we do so, I think we must make every effort to not create unintended consequences as we provide that assistance. We cannot help one person while harming another. So if we are able to secure rent forgiveness, we must also try to provide mortgage payment relief and depreciation or cost deductions from future taxes for the landowners. If anyone, I'd like to see us discuss or bring that back if we can do that tonight somehow with instructions to staff. That's one way to do it. Another way would be to agendize this for our next meeting. But I think it's something that needs to be done post-haste. And if anybody wants a written copy of my remarks, I'll be glad to provide them or any detail they'd like on my general statements. But I'd like a discussion on the rent thing.
Very good. Yeah, I was going to bring that up also. So we will get to that. Councilman Hammond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I share in Councilman Strong's information regarding the forgiveness of rent and mortgage. Anything we can do to explore that possibility, I'd like to have staff weigh in tonight with information they may have already and possibility of putting it on the agenda if we need to move forward as a group. We feel like we want to do something here. But I think, again, message for our Roblins basically stay the course. At this point, we're getting through it. We're, in my opinion, halfway through. It looks like as far as the bell curves are happening, California is not as bad as the rest of the nation, but even still, it could get bad, and we need to follow the instructions. But on the flip side of it, I want to make sure we get back to work as soon as possible, too. For what I understand, that the most vulnerable is the elderly, and we need to watch them very carefully and not transmit and bring things into their rooms that could harm them more ways than not. But at any rate, I'm really concerned about the economy, what can happen over long term here if we keep moving in this direction. But, it seems like the people who I've talked to have had it. Is not that bad from what I'm understanding with everybody I've spoken to that has had it. So, again, there's going to be the one that, of course, will not align with that and may turn bad, really bad for them quickly. But at any rate, I think the positive message from the council to the Roblins and citizens of the Paso Robles is to be careful what we're doing out there still. And the 3 Ds, I think Mayor Martin said, distance, disinfect, and diagnose. That's what I'm telling everybody I know is just watch our distance and keep our hands clean and watch what we touch. So that's my message.
Very good. Thank you. Councilman Gregory.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with all the comments that Councilman Hammond has made. I think that we're staying the course. I think our community is doing as best as we can in the situation. I, too, am very concerned about our economy, and I would like to encourage our citizens to continue to keep distance, and let's get better so that we can get our folks back to work and get our economy moving again as soon as it's possibly safe and fair. The other item I'd like to report on is I've attended 2 emergency meetings with HSOC on the housing for the homeless, and the state is providing funding for the county of San Luis Obispo, a little over $500,000 right away. The first chunk of money, it's about $265,000, is going towards offsetting costs for hotel stays for our homeless in need and those affected by the virus. And in addition, now they've created some parking areas. There's, I think, 2 in the South County, one over in Los Osos, and I think one in Arroyo Grande or San Luis Obispo at the Veterans Memorial Building there. And they're considering doing one in the North County. And this would be people for sheltering in their vehicles, RVs, tents. And so the funding would also support that and support the staff for providing safety and security at those areas. I'm not sure where the other site is in the North County. They did not mention it in the meeting. Then the other one, there's more money coming down the pike. So we'll have another meeting probably in a week or 2 weeks to look at that funding and see where that money is going to go. The state governor has requested we keep the funds primarily for providing housing and care and medical support for the homeless that are unable to house themselves. So, and with that, that's all I have for my part. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Just a quick rundown on my activities the last couple of weeks. I have done more video conferencing than I ever expected to in my life. I've had multiple video conferences with our local Paso Robles business stakeholders, people from the Chamber, from Wine Country Alliance, from Travel Paso, from Main Street, and others. And they are busily involved in finding new ways for our local businesses to be successful, adapting to the situation. And they've really stepped up, and that's very heartening. I've had multiple conferences with our elected officials, both mayors around the county and with our supervisors. Also, we have conferences multiple times each week with the public health officer to get the latest information about what's going on around the county. I've had interviews with Travel Paso exec Dana Stroud, also with our superintendent of schools, Kurt DeBost, and the schools are doing an amazing job in feeding students, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of meals being provided, and I think that's just tremendous. Teleconference with the folks from REACH, formerly known as Hourglass. They're working to facilitate recovery. Also, our Economic Vitality Corporation. And I've been on Sound Off, the local radio station, twice in the last month, speaking with the people in our community. I've turned out 10 video blogs that are linked on our Paso Robles city website, prcity.com, talking about different aspects of how it's affecting the city. I do text blogs also on the site pasomayor.com. And also I do recorded mayor's reports on voiceofpaso.com. People can dial in there. These are all being made available to the media. I trust the media is picking information up and getting it out to folks. On the issue of rents and mortgage relief, a couple of us brought that up. I just recorded a video today on this, which according to the latest information we've received, rental evictions are temporarily prohibited. The ordinances that have been adopted by the state and the county are being upheld in the city of Paso Robles. They prohibit eviction for inability to pay rent due to financial impacts due to COVID-19. Reportedly, more than 400 banks, charter banks, credit unions have all agreed to give homeowners a 90-day moratorium on payment when unable to pay because of the impacts of COVID-19. This does not happen automatically. People that need this type of relief need to contact their landlords, need to contact their banking establishments to get their policies. If there's any question, there's a master list of the organizations and what their policies are at covid-19.ca.gov. And I would agree that I've already had a conversation with the city manager about this, and I agree with Councilman Strong. We don't want to cause unintended consequences by trying to do the right thing. So as I understand it, the city manager and other members of staff are exploring the ramifications of this. And I would also request that it be put on a future agenda as soon as possible so that we can be educated about our ability and the correct course of action to take when it comes to this. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, on that score, one of the things that is concerning a lot of people is that the regulations on rent don't actually forgive it. It just defers it for up to 6 months, but it then has to be paid within that period of time. And their concern is that the effects of the COVID-19 situation is that they have no income coming in or very diminished income, and they have no way to recoup that in order to pay that rent later. So that all we'd be doing is delaying eviction. And that isn't right if it's caused by a pandemic.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that.
That's what we have to somehow address, and that's why I mentioned the 3 different factors.
Right, and we take this. Yeah, we take this one step at a time. So initially the eviction has been prohibited. So just as defeating the virus is going to take a prolonged series of activities, this is probably going to take a prolonged series of activities too. I think we're going to be all private citizens, organizations in the city of Paso Robles. We're going to be pushing a lot of monetary pain into the future and trying to manage it as best as possible as we go along. But I do agree we need to discuss that, and I want staff to bring that back so we can get more information on it.
Mr. Mayor, the suggestions in the emails have all been to address the state. But I think we also have to address the federal government, which we're already doing to some extent through the National League of Cities.
Very good. Okay, coming up next, we have our next regular city council meeting on Tuesday, April the 21st at 6:30 p.m., and we invite everyone to tune in and become involved with that. The deadline for submitting items for the next meeting will be April the 8th, which is tomorrow. Before we sign off tonight, I want to thank the citizens of Paso Robles. Everybody I have come in contact with have been quite unified, quite congenial, quite respectful. And while there are differing opinions on the origins and impacts of COVID-19, everyone agrees we have to work together to get out of this. And next, I want to thank our staff, because these are folks that are always hardworking, but they've been working nonstop now for over a month. And I'm sure it's starting to wear a little thin for them. And we greatly appreciate the extra effort that they're all going to make sure that we're safe and the business of the city continues during the crisis. So with that, if there are no further comments, I would elicit a motion to adjourn.
Mayor Martin, this is Steve. Mayor Martin.
Yes.
This is Steve Gregory. I did have one more comment, if I may.
Certainly.
if it's appropriate, there's a lot of information about wearing your facial masks outside and what the protocol for that is. And I wondered if Chief Starnetta is still on the line. He could just give us a brief protocol of how we handle our face mask. That we don't have the 95 series like the fire safety folks have, but any mask that we have ourselves, cloth or whatever we're using, to just briefly mention a protocol on operating your breathing protection while you're outside or in public.
Is Mr. Starnetta still with us?
I am here, still here. I'm just.
So could you make a comment now on?
I'm pulling up some information I have real quick here. So specifically, the face coverings are utilized for people that can't maintain 6 feet of physical distance from others. So whenever you're out in public, what they're recommending is cloth face coverings because we don't want the public utilizing the N95s or surgical masks because we are saving those for the public health professionals. If you do use it out in public, we recommend you don't touch it with your hands and you wash it daily because you can spread it. And really, it's just to protect you from other people at this point. So hopefully that's the answer you were looking for. If you need more information, I'd be happy to answer more questions you have.
Thank you. And a reminder to everyone, once again, a good place to start with any general question about this is to go to readyslow.org. That's sort of the central clearing point for information for the counties. And for city services, you'll find a great deal of information at prcity.com. Any other council comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Councilman Hammond, second by Councilman Gregory to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all. We are adjourned.